Hey everybody, Ryan here. Alright, going to go over the standings, in which case we have at least one division. No, we do have one division for sure that has all four playoff spots set already. Well, not their exact positioning, but we have the four teams we know for sure will be in the playoffs for that division. So, let's get into it. Let's start with, if you have not done so, please hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out, and also hit the like button. That also helps the channel out. So, after that, let's get started. Alright, this is where the North Division stood last week. Toronto in first, followed by Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, and Ottawa. Now, this still is the division that's played the least amount of games total so far, but that's also because Vancouver's recent COVID issue, so that did not help. Alright, this is where they stand this week. So we have Toronto, who has clinched over last week, still in first, and still in first by 8 points. So that's, I want to say, a fairly safe bet that Toronto will finish first. I mean, there is the possibility of a collapse, but even for Toronto, that's pretty dang monumental. Edmonton clinched as of tonight, the 3rd of May. They sit second with 64 points. They sit 7 points ahead of Winnipeg and Montreal, who are tied. Winnipeg is in the midst of a monumental collapse. 7-game losing streak, 2-8 in their last 10. Yes, I know injuries have been there. That's been an issue. But they have, especially losing Ehlers. Like I said, when he went out, that was a big loss, and so far they have yet to win since they lost him. That is going to prove to be a major injury for them, because Dubois alone has not stepped up to the plate offensively to try and take over what they lost with Ehlers. And nobody really has. And I'm still not sure Blake Wheeler is 100% at this point. So, at this point, Winnipeg, unless they turn around, there's still a chance they could get knocked out. So, they need to figure something out pretty dang quick. Montreal has been so-so. 5-5 in last 10, 3 wins. They're staying ahead. I mean, right now, they probably, at this point, my guess, will pass Winnipeg, both with 5 games left. Calgary, I think it's fairly safe to say they're not making it. They're currently 6 games left, 10 points back. I mean, that means Winnipeg will have to continue their monumental collapse for the rest of the season, and Calgary would have to win every single game, basically, except one. They have that much leeway. And then Ottawa, they have been eliminated, but they're putting up a good fight of late. 7-2-1. They're doing pretty good. Vancouver's on a 5-game losing streak, wasting their games in hand at this point. They still have 10 games left, so they still theoretically could get up to 61 points, so they still could technically make the playoffs. But there's a lot of ifs in there, and those ifs, I don't think those ifs are going to happen, because they have looked awful of late. Alright, on to the East Division. Last week, we had Pittsburgh in first, followed by Washington, the Islanders, Boston, Rangers chasing them, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Buffalo. Now, this division, as of tonight, the 3rd of May, has all 4 teams clinching playoff spots. Now, their positioning still has yet to be determined. Here it is. Washington and Pittsburgh are tied for the top in the division with 71 points. Both doing fairly well over the last 10. Granted, Pittsburgh lost to Buffalo today. Yeah, that doesn't help your chances. Washington 6-3-1 in last 10. Pittsburgh 7-3. Washington beat the Rangers, basically eliminating them today. I mean, Boston won as well, so that also eliminated them. So Rangers are out this year. So right now, like I said, Washington, Pittsburgh tied for first with 71. Boston's at 68, only 3 points behind, and they have games in hand. 2 over Pittsburgh and 1 over Washington. So they could theoretically, with the games in hand, pass Pittsburgh, but not pass Washington. So this is still a crapshoot as to who's going to win this division and where everybody's going to sit, because the Islanders, the 4th clinch spot right now, are at 67 points, 1 behind Boston, and 4 behind Pittsburgh and Washington. Yeah, this one's pretty tight. And unfortunately for Rangers, they didn't make it, but 3-game losing streak they're currently on does not help your chances when you're chasing from behind somebody. Still a good team. I think next year they'll probably most likely make those playoffs. I really don't see what the Rangers missing much longer. Philadelphia, just an utter shock as to how terrible they were at times this year. I mean, God, Carter Hart just collapsed this year. I don't think anybody saw that coming. New Jersey, they're New Jersey. Buffalo's Buffalo. So, yeah, I mean, the Rangers and Philadelphia, you knew two good teams were not going to make the playoffs in this division, and it's the Rangers and Philadelphia. Well, to see how they respond, I think Rangers, like I said, will make it next year. Islanders just are not looking great ever since that trade for Palmieri and Zajac. All right, the Discover Central. Last week only had Carolina clinched in the first place spot, followed by Florida, Tampa, then Nashville and Dallas are fighting out for that fourth spot as of last week, but Nashville had the edge. Chicago still technically, but not realistically. Then you had Detroit and Columbus pulling up the rear in the division. This week, really no movement, actually not a single bit of movement at all. The exact same, other than 2 teams have clinched. Carolina's still in first, followed by Florida, who has clinched. And Florida has been much better of late after a bit of a scare there for a little while, right after the Ekblad injury and Verhaeghe injury. Then you had Tampa, who has clinched, following behind them. Those top 3 teams have been just monstrous of late. Nashville's been doing pretty good too. Dallas was catching up. They're 4 points back with a game in hand. So we'll have to see how this one ends. I think it'll be a close one between Dallas and Nashville. I'm not sure they play each other at all. But Nashville has 3 games left, and right now their magic number is 2. So they have to win 1 game basically. Because let's see, do they have They have the row advantage? Yep, they have row advantage. So yeah, even if they tied, they'll have that advantage. Plus they have the win advantage. Because Dallas has lost 14 overtime games. Good God. I didn't realize that till now. Sheesh. That's awful. But then you got Chicago back there, they're 10 points back with 4 games left, so they have been officially eliminated. Where Dallas is still holding on. We'll have to see how this plays out, but I think Nashville's probably going to get this spot. In which case, it'll be Carolina, Florida, Tampa, and Nashville, theoretically, possibly Dallas, maybe not Nashville, but I think it's going to be Nashville. But we still have positioning to figure out because those top 3 teams are separated by 2 points each. Or 4 points between Tampa and Carolina. So, we'll have to see how this one figures out because we'll still find out who's playing who. Alright, last week in the West Division, we had 3 teams clinched. Vegas, followed by Colorado, followed by Minnesota. Then you had St. Louis fighting with Arizona and San Jose and LA for that last playoff spot. And Anaheim definitely not making the playoffs. Alright, this week, Vegas is still in first. Colorado's 2 points behind them. And Minnesota's 2 points behind them. And these standings are as of after all the games ended on the 3rd of May. So, these are up to date as of that day. Alright, so you have St. Louis is pretty much at this point, I'm going to say pretty much sealed the deal in the 4th spot. I know as of tonight, LA and San Jose were eliminated. Well, San Jose was. Actually, LA has not been yet. Or have they? They have 6 games left, 12 possible points, so it's 58. Yeah, no. So St. Louis still has a magic number 3 over them. And Arizona only 1. Magic number 1. So St. Louis needs 3 points or 1 point and an LA loss in regulation in these final games. And then they have officially clinched that 4th playoff spot. Now, we still have a lot of positioning to figure out. A lot of these divisions, as you can tell, the spots have been mostly picked. It's just a matter of positioning. Now, St. Louis is pretty much guaranteed 4th spot when they officially clinch this spot. They will be the 4th place team playing whoever finishes first. In which case, Colorado could tie Vegas with their 1 game in hand. And Vegas, is now lost 2 games in the last 3. Colorado's won 3, and Minnesota's won 2. So, and I believe Vegas plays Minnesota next game because they played them tonight. Which, by the way, if you have not watched my recap of tonight's games, make sure to catch that as well, because that is going to be coming out this evening as well. So, down at the bottom, you got San Jose, who lost to Colorado tonight. They got another game against Colorado. And Anaheim, just as Anaheim. Yep, they're just there. Alright, now the 1st through 10th place last week was, oh, look at that, only 4 clinched teams last week. Vegas, Carolina, followed by Pittsburgh, Florida, Colorado, Tampa, Washington, Minnesota, Toronto, and the New York Islanders, who have been terrible ever since the trade deadline. I know I keep saying that, I'm sorry. This week, Carolina is your new top team in the entire NHL, followed by Florida, once again, who saw Florida being the 2nd best team in the league, followed by Vegas, Tampa, Colorado, Toronto, Washington, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and Boston. So as you can tell, the New York Islanders have fallen out of the top 10, and Boston has moved in. So, all 10 of these top 10 teams have already clinched. They know they're going to the playoffs. Like I said, matter of positioning. Alright, 11 through 21 last week was Boston. We know they've moved up. Edmonton, Winnipeg, New York Rangers, Nashville, Dallas, Montreal, Philadelphia, Chicago, St. Louis, and Arizona. Now let's see how they're doing this week. New York Islanders are on the 11th, followed by Edmonton, who is also clinched. Then you have Nashville, New York Rangers, Winnipeg, Montreal, Dallas, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Arizona. Not a ton of movement, other than St. Louis has popped up 2 spots. And New York Islanders have dropped down 1. So, if St. Louis clinches the playoffs, they are the lowest team in this ranking to clinch the playoffs. And if Nashville ends up getting the other spot and Winnipeg, Montreal get those spots, that means the Rangers, who right now are sitting 14th best in the entire NHL, are not going to make the playoffs, where 3 teams below them will. That has to hurt. That sucks. But that's how the playoffs work sometimes. Alright, 22 through 31, you had Calgary, San Jose, LA, Detroit, Vancouver, Ottawa, Columbus, New Jersey, Anaheim, and Buffalo. This was last week. Let's check out this week. This week, we had Calgary, LA, San Jose, Ottawa, Detroit, Columbus, Vancouver, New Jersey, Anaheim, and Buffalo. Now, Buffalo, Anaheim, New Jersey, Vancouver, and Columbus, in that order, are the bottom 5. Now, that could still change, because as you can see, the 5th place spot and the 22nd spot, there is a 3-point differential. So that could definitely fluctuate. Now, the bottom 4, other than Vancouver, because of the amount of games they have in hand, I would say those 3 at the bottom are pretty much guaranteed they're going to be at the bottom. Vancouver, if they continue their losing ways, probably will stay there. But look at between them and Columbus. There's a 3-point difference, and there is a 7-game difference right now. So, Vancouver in those 7 games, if you're going to tell me they're going to get at least 6 points, I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I'd be like, they got to get something in there. I mean, come on, you can't lose 7 more in a row. Sorry, Buffalo, yes you can. So, we'll see where that one goes, but as of right now, your bottom 3 are pretty much set. I mean, they could still change, but likelihood is fairly low at this point. Alright, that's what I got for you for the standings this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit the notification bell next to it so you can be notified when I drop the next standings video, which will be mostly pretty much everybody done with the season by next week, I believe. So, other than Vancouver and a few North Division matchups still, and maybe some more in the Central. But other than that, that will be it. So if you want to, please leave some comments. Let me know what you think of the standings. Who do you think is going to play who And who do you think is going to make the finals? Alright, other than that, I will see you all next video. Bye, everybody.